Chairman Smith, Chairman Arrington. I've heard hyperbole before, but to say this is the most dangerous piece of legislation in modern history really is the beyond hyperbole, I believe. But we're hearing this constant refrain that this bill benefits no one and harms everyone. Can you expand on how this bill benefits low and middle income Americans? I'll start with you, Chairman Smith, and then come to you, Chairman Arrington.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Let's first say, if you vote against this bill, you're voting against the child tax credit being at $2,200 per child. At the end of this year, it will drop to $1,000. That makes a huge impact to 40 million hardworking Americans. And it's simply, when they vote no, they're voting against a $2,200 child tax credit, and they're okay with $1,000. They're also voting against no taxes on tips. There's a lot of millionaires and billionaires that gets tips. No, there's not. But if you listen to the Democrats here, they said this is all about billionaires and millionaires. No tax on tips. No tax on overtime work. How many millionaires and billionaires, Madam Chair, works by the hour? I don't think there's one. So by saying that this bill is for the billionaires and millionaires, it's just completely false. Because no taxes on overtime, no taxes on tips, tax relief for seniors. This affects real Americans. You have permanency for paid family and medical leave tax credit, helping workers balance family and careers. Partial refundability of the adoption tax credit. Numerous items could go on, but they'll try to say that this is all about the millionaires and billionaires. But let me tell you, in addition to stopping a $1,700 tax increase, we're stopping a $1,700 tax increase by passing this bill. Working families making between $15,000 to $30,000 will have their taxes cut by 21%, the largest of any income group in the distribution title. The largest. And that's a fact from CBO. As a result, the one big beautiful bill, the top 1% will pay more in federal taxes. They did before TCJA, over 40% of all federal taxes. And so it's important to know that 66% of the one big beautiful bill's tax cuts benefits American families making less than $500,000 a year. That's a tax cut for real Americans, and it counters the false narratives that we have heard this day.
Thank you, Chairman Smith. Chairman Arrington.
Madam Chair, I agree with Chairman Smith. I can't imagine working families sustaining a tax hike after the inflation tax, which, as I mentioned, was 21%. These good people from everyone's district have suffered a cost of living crisis, the likes of which we haven't endured or experienced in 40 years. So I agree with the Chairman Smith. I mean, let's start with do no harm. Let's not have a 22% hike on top of the 21% hike, which is thousands of dollars from these families' pocketbooks. But I think the best way to predict the future is past performance. And if you look at what happened after TCJA was passed, I would say, coupled with deregulation and other good economic policies, but we had the highest wage increase in a quarter of a century. $5,000 for the median household. the people on the lower end of the spectrum did better than those at the top in terms of the value of the tax cut. And wages grew 2 times as fast in the bottom 10% as the top 10%. The bottom 50 income grew. The bottom 50% of income earners grew 3 times that of the top 1%. And as the Chairman Smith said, the top 1% actually paid a greater share of their taxes. So not to mention small businesses that support working families and family farms, and so the list goes on. But I would say for those lowest income earners and those that need the safety net, I think this helps them by not allowing illegal immigrants and folks who are otherwise ineligible from siphoning money off and jeopardizing the sustainability of these programs into the future. And in fact, Numbers USA says that it's $9,000 in social services, taxpayer funded, for people here illegally. That's more than we spend per American citizen on Medicaid. So to Ms. Moore, who's a friend, to her comment about we will be known by our deeds, how about the Democrats in the Senate, all except 4, who voted against the prohibition of illegal immigrants getting taxpayer-funded health care? When we can't sustain 51% increase over the last 4 or 5 years, 400 to 600 billion roughly on Medicaid, it will be $1 trillion in the next over this next budget window. It's not sustainable. So, Madam Chair, this couldn't be a better time or better policies to strengthen working families.
Thank you very much. Chairman Guthrie, out of all the fear-mongering we've heard, the most ridiculous is the claim that people will die if this bill is passed. The health care provisions in this bill target waste, fraud, and abuse in our Medicaid program to ensure it's sustainable for future generations and can continue to provide for our most vulnerable populations, such as women and children for whom the program was intended to serve. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Thank you very much, Mr. McGovern.